The clock strikes midnight tomorrow. It won't just mean the start of a new year.
Oh, here it is.
Also,
by the way, big dubs for anti-copyright bros out there, but I guess like not really. Disney has lost famous Mickey Mouse copyright for the first ever Mickey Mouse. It's done.
Be when copyright
not like the current Mickey Mouse, but this one, the Steamboat Willie one.
Protections expire on a number of well-known books, films, and musical compositions. That includes works like All Quiet on the Western Front, Peter Pan, and the Marx Brothers musical Animal Crackers. But one work that's entering the public domain on 2024 is getting a lot of attention. CBS News senior business and technology correspondent Jolene Kent has the story.
It's a simple early rendition of perhaps the most recognizable cartoon character ever created. The 1928 animated short Steamboat Willie marked the film debut of Mickey Mouse. And Minnie, too. Now, almost 100 years later, this landmark piece of entertainment will enter the public domain, meaning Disney will lose its right to control it, and others can use the images as they wish. This was set to happen years ago, until Disney, with other groups, got Congress to pass extensions. But the last of them expires at midnight on New Year's Eve.
And what basically is happening now is that we will be able to do to the great works of Disney what Disney did to the great works of the public domain before him. And that's how creativity is supposed to happen. We build on our past.
Lawrence Lessig is a Harvard law professor and expert on copyright issues.
So this is a bit of a full circle moment then.
Absolutely. And I think
he's a big time Wolfpack advocate too. He's like a big anti money and politics guy, right? Isn't it? I think this is
Disney should celebrate.
I remember him from my TYT days.
Because what we know about the creativity of Walt Disney and the Disney Corporation
Wolfpack.
is that they've made stories relevant.
Wolf-pack.com.
So starting on Monday, anyone has the legal right to use Mickey and Minnie Mouse in new creative works like books and films. But there's an important caveat. It has to be the Steamboat Willie versions, not the more familiar renditions of the characters that followed.
What are the limitations? What are you not allowed to do?
You cannot use the characters in a way that misleads consumers into thinking that Disney has produced or sponsored your product.
Jennifer Jenkins teaches at Duke Law School, specializing in intellectual property and the public domain.
The way I think about that is the public domain is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Oh, God.
In point, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh.
He walked out of the 100-acre wood and into the public domain 2 years ago, when the original literary work lost its protection. And that led to this. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, a critically panned, low-budget slasher film where the beloved characters go on a murderous rampage.
Blood and Honey was buzzworthy because of the shock value, because it grossed people out. But in the long run, our culture gets to decide what kinds of public domain reuses.
Oh, shit. I was literally going to watch this 3 weeks ago when it first came out.
Tomorrow,
our culture gets enduring appeal. Disney is the poster child for just how valuable the public domain is. If you think about their beloved movies that we've all watched, so many of them are based on public domain works. We've got The Lion King and Frozen and The Little Mermaid and Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. I could go on. And so that makes this moment deeply symbolic and highly anticipated because Mickey Mouse is the emblem of both of those tendencies.
Steamboat Willie is getting lots of attention, but in recent years, copyright expirations have become routine. Over the years, many other characters have entered the public domain without much fanfare, including Tarzan, Sherlock Holmes, and even Frankenstein's monster.
What are some of the high-profile characters that will enter the public domain in the next few years?
So we have a lot to look forward to in the next few years. We've got Donald Duck, we've got Superman, we've got Batman, and we've also got movies such as The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, Gone with the Wind.
The fact that the fact that it took this long is just ridiculous in my opinion. I think public domain should be much shorter. The time frame for IP to enter public domain should be infinitely shorter.
We have a lot of wonderful works and a lot of forgotten works going into the public domain in the next few years.
You ought to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz.
For CBS Saturday Morning, Jolene Kent, Los Angeles.
Now I want to sing this. Right.
20 years? What? No, not 20 years, man. No. How about 10 max? Anyway, here, let's talk about why it was extended now. Before we watch Steamboat Willie 4K film Transfer, which we're going to be doing an ethical react to in a second.
Disney is about to lose copyright in Mickey Mouse. That's right, Mickey Mouse, literally the most iconic character that they've ever created, one that they themselves claim is worth $15 billion. And they're doing it all on purpose. But why? Well, the answer is both shocking and kind of genius. I'm Jake Watson, lawyer, producer, and YouTuber with Corridor Crew. Let's get into the issue. So what is a copyright? Why does Mickey Mouse have one that's almost 100 years old? How is he going to lose it? And why does that matter? A copyright is the right of an author of an artistic or scientific work to exploit that work without anybody else being able to do so. This is known as the exclusive right. But the big picture reason, the actual reason why copyright law exists, isn't just to protect authors. The bigger reason is that it's to promote the progress of human knowledge. So copyright incentivizes people to go out, to try things, to learn things, to make things, to discover things, and in exchange ensures them that at the end of the rainbow, they will be able to exploit the fruit of their labor without it being stolen from them. But the other side of copyright is that when a work is useful enough, when it is truly useful to the benefit of our culture, it becomes part of our popular culture. And in order for human knowledge to be expanded upon over time, you need to allow people who come along
Yeah, thank God for patents, dude. That's how all innovation has occurred historically. It was crazy when John Patton invented the patent system. Then that's when we really got to innovating. Before then, it was like fire wasn't even invented. You know what I mean?
long after the original author to take that original work and expand upon it, to build upon it, so that overall, as a species, humanity is better off tomorrow than we are right now. Now, Mickey Mouse has a copyright because he is, in essence, a work of art and creativity.
Unpopular opinion, copyright protections are good for creative professionals. Yeah, I mean, that is an unpopular opinion. Because ultimately, I think there is, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, like, why don't you ever wear, here, look. This is why I wear shoes now in the house. Look how dirty my socks are now. I feel like copyright and patent are different, no? That's number one. And number two, I think that like some level of protection should exist. It's just like so funny. He uses Dracula. Nosferatu was literally stealing Dracula IP, and they just decided not to sue them.
Creativity, a contribution, if you will, to human knowledge. And, well, that contribution is owned by the Walt Disney Company. I own all this now! In fact, Disney owns so many versions of Mickey Mouse, it's more like Mickey Mice. But the very first version, the OG version of Mickey Mouse that Disney first ever published was in 1928 with a little film called Steamboat Willie. And the copyright for that film lasts 95 years. More on how we got there in a minute. What it means right now is that on January 1st, 2024, Disney is going to lose their copyright in this very first version of Mickey Mouse. But what's more is that this will set off a timeline where over the coming years, several other versions of Mickey Mouse and several other iconic Disney characters will also lose their copyrights. So how are Mickey and his friends going to lose something that they've held for almost 100 years? All copyrights, every single one, is limited by time. And when the copyright protection on a work runs out, the work enters the public domain. Now, the public domain isn't like a repository for lost Disney characters or something. It's just this idea that when the time runs out, the exclusive right held by the copyright owner no longer applies. The thing is, once a work enters the public domain, it stays there forever. Now, as you might imagine, this is incredibly significant because it allows literally anybody to take the original work, to use it, and even to resell it without the permission of the copyright owner. Now, of course, Disney would be concerned with this. They don't want other people going out and selling their work without their permission.
Do we have a problem? No, sir. No, Mr. Mouse.
But that's not what's shocking here. What's shocking is that the copyright in Steamboat Willie was supposed to expire 40 years ago. Now, as you probably well know, Walt Disney started creating some of the most iconic characters ever in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. And all of these characters were protected for 56 years from the date of publication under the rules of the 1909 Act. So let's just do some rough math here. 1920s plus 56 years of protection leaves you roughly where? Late 1970s? Oh, that's weird. Look, there's a footnote here. The Copyright Act of 1976. Oddly convenient, Disney. You see, with their old friend Willie only being protected under the rules of the 1909 Act, his copyright was set to expire in 1984, which would also set off that timeline where numerous other characters that Disney owned would also expire and enter the public domain. So what was Disney to do? Well, let's see. You've got a multi-billion-dollar character about to be pushed into the public domain. Oh yeah, that's right. They did exactly what you think they did, which was to embark on a very serious lobbying effort to get Congress to pass the Copyright Act of 1976. And I gotta say, the effort worked because the act extended copyright to characters created before 1978 for a total of 75 years, an additional 19 years above and beyond the original rules of the 1909 Act. See, Minnie? Money can buy happiness and laws. Haha. I don't want to completely undermine the 1976 Copyright Act by saying that it was entirely because of Disney. I mean, there were several other legitimate reasons why it was created and passed, and efforts for its development began in the early 1960s. It also codified the fair use doctrine, which is awesome, but also Disney. And look, well, it is nearly impossible to obtain comprehensive information on Disney's lobbying efforts from 1960 to 1975. Disney, even today, self-reports that they spend between $4 and $5 million per year on federal lobbying alone, which doesn't sound like all that much, but when you consider that this is self-reporting, that they claimed in 1997 their mouse was worth $8 billion, and they have numerous other connections with very influential lobbying groups like, the National Association of Public Broadcasters, the NCTA Internet and Television Association, and the Motion Picture Association of America. Look, I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying they like their mouse. That's why in 1998, Disney once again lobbied Congress, this time to pass the Copyright Term Extension Act. The Copyright Term Extension Act did exactly as the name implies, and that was to amend the 1976 Act to expand copyright protection by an additional 20 years. For a total of 95 years. Once again, only for works created before 1978. Now, Disney's influence here cannot be overstated. For starters, one of the more derisive terms for the act was just to call it the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. That's probably because in addition to self-reporting $6.3 million in lobbying efforts for the act, Disney also made significant campaign contributions to key people involved in the development and passage of the act. By some reports, 18 of the 25 congresspeople who originally sponsored the bill received $800,000 campaign contributions
This is also why Little
directly
Rhonda
from Disney, including the Senate majority.
Was slated to suck a fat one. You can't go up against the Disney, man. You can't go up against the mouse. The mouse
leader
house.
at the time. Of course, if you're going to spend that kind of money, I think there's a reversal there, and you're now required to go out and take them out to dinner first, which is exactly what then Disney CEO Michael Eisner did with Senate Majority Leader Trent Lott at the time to discuss, the development and passage of the act.
Oh, I don't think that's legal, Minnie.
And it worked. This effort bought them a 20-year extension on all of their copyrights created before 1978, when on October 27th, 1998, Bill Clinton signed the bill into law. Now, it's at this point in Disney's journey that I need to stop for a second, because what they did here is really dumb. They did not use today's sponsor, Squarespace. You see, Squarespace has been building and improving their platform for so many years now. There's so much more than just beautiful award-winning templates and 24/7 award-winning customer service. Of course, they still have those things, but Squarespace today, right here, right now, is an all-in-one platform for building your business and growing your audience.
I'm gonna show you the link.
And I think talking about off your first purchase of a website or domain, If
Dude.
you're interested in getting 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain, go to squarespace.com/corridor crew or just click the link in the description below. Now, what I'm about to tell you next is a shocker. This brings us to today, where 95 years later, the very first version of Mickey Mouse is about to enter the public domain. So this naturally begs the question, why hasn't Disney done anything about it this time? I mean, can't they just lobby Congress again, get their copyrights extended, and everyone goes on as normal? Well, yeah, they could, and there are several reasons for why they aren't. Look, I thought about going into all of them, okay? You have the constitutionality of effectively perpetual copyright extensions. You have the social backlash that could possibly ensue if they embark on another large lobbying effort. You even have trademark, which I will talk about just a little bit, but they all pale in comparison to the real reason why they chose to do nothing about this. And the real reason is that because over the last 25 years, Disney has gotten so big that it is no longer worth the time to extend copyright in Mickey Mouse. It literally is not worth it to them anymore. That sounds simple. Oh yeah, they got big as a company, Disney, Mickey doesn't mean anything to them. No, look, I don't think you realize how big Disney has gotten. Since 1995, the period right before the Copyright Term Extension Act, Disney has made 22 major acquisitions which have dramatically shrunk the value of Mickey Mouse as a total portion of their entire business.
I mean, this is probably the reason why they did that, right? The inevitable. But also, they could just keep making Mickey Mouse. I'm sure they will.
Compare that to just 4 acquisitions made in their entire existence before 1995. But that's not what's truly staggering here. What's truly staggering is that the value of these acquisitions, when adjusted for inflation, that means everything I'm about to tell you is in today's real dollars. The value of the acquisitions before 1995 were worth $200 million. And the value of the acquisitions made after 1995 are worth $160 billion. That's an 800 times increase in acquisition value from before 1995 to after 1995. 800 times. For comparison, here's a little chart of Mickey Mouse worth his $15.4 billion in today's money next to some of the major acquisitions Disney has made since 1995. Are you ready? 1996, Disney buys ABC and ESPN for $19 billion. 06, Disney buys Pixar for $7.5 billion. 09, Disney buys Marvel for $4 billion. 2012, Disney buys Lucasfilm for $4 billion. 2019, Disney buys 21st Century Fox for a staggering $71.3 billion. And on November 6th of this year, Disney announced an $8.6 billion deal to acquire full control of Hulu. So now they own ABC, ESPN, Hulu, 21st Century Fox, Pixar, Marvel, and Lucasfilms.
That's why it was funny when like people were talking about Elon Musk taking Disney out of the Teslas, like the Disney app out of the Teslas, while still keeping Hulu in the Teslas.
And they've all acquired them since 1995. Mickey who?
I am really strong. No, you're not.
Holy crap. Like I wrote this, this is the 7th time I've gone through this. It still blows my mind. Think about it this way. Even when Mickey Mouse does enter the public domain, say you could go out there and you make something really cool with Mickey Mouse, something well within your rights, something 100% in the manner that copyright was intended to promote the progress of science and the use.
Guys, it's horizontal and vertical integration. Come on, it's not a monopoly, guys.
Arts. Could you even put the dang
mergers
piece
and
somewhere
acquisitions,
that
baby.
isn't directly owned or heavily controlled by Disney? Oh, but Jake, you could put it on YouTube. Yeah, that's a great idea. It gives me another idea. The idea that in 2014, Disney bought Maker Studios for a casual $500 million.
Yeah, that was a dumbass decision.
And it owned 60,000 partnered channels at the time. Now, granted, that deal went sideways, and I think Phil DeFranco owns it now, but look, that's not the point. The point is that now, today, in this world, Disney is an absolute behemoth. And that's kind of what makes this terrifying, but also genius, because it's like they've just spent the last 25 years silently and diligently working away in preparation for this exact moment, which
Sup, you beautiful
is
bastard.
probably exactly what they did. I mean, they're literally choosing not to even attempt to extend copyright protection on the most iconic character they've ever created, because, well, like he's truly mouse-sized to them now. Like he's like a little baby boy mouse, little Mickey boy. Come here, get a little hug, Mickey. When I started researching this video, I really wanted to say that it was a win for the people to have Mickey Mouse enter the public domain because it shows that the
his haircut is so police-like.
law is still working in this country, but Disney is playing such a different game of chess that calling this a win simply because Disney chose not to do anything about it is like saying you won the race because you ran unopposed. Let's be frank, Disney is about as threatened by Steamboat Willie entering the public domain as Shaquille O'Neal is threatened by Kevin Hart. Oh, and one more tiny, small, itty little bitty thing here. Disney's also not going to do anything about extending their copyrights because they still own trademarks in every character that they've ever produced. And the best thing about trademarks for them, at least in this situation, is that trademarks never expire. But don't worry, trademark is a vastly different area than copyright law, so it's not like Disney's gonna start going around and using their trademarks effectively as copyrights. It just means that they're gonna try. Now look, on a more serious note, in my opinion, it is a good thing that Mickey Mouse is entering the public domain, even if it's largely due to the fact that Disney just chose not to do anything about it. For 95 years, Disney has held the exclusive right in the character of Mickey Mouse. But Mickey Mouse is so much more than a character now. He's a part of our popular culture, whether you like it or not. He's here to stay. And I'm sure that his success is well beyond Walt Disney's wildest dreams. And to be fair, it's because of the hard work that Disney has put into that character, which has made him so influential over all these years. But when we remind ourselves that the purpose of copyright is to promote the progress of sciences and useful arts, so that those who come long after the authors may...
Yeah, newer versions of Mickey Mouse is still not in public domain, so technically it's Steamboat Willie that is like pretty close regardless, but that is what is enter the public domain.
Pick up that work and expand upon it and build upon it so that humanity is better off tomorrow than we are right now. I think it's time to start building. And honestly, I think the Walt Disney Company knows this too. And after researching this topic, here's my take on it. Disney just did what any other well-managed and well-positioned company would do in their circumstances. They changed how valuable Mickey Mouse was to them without changing their values. And honestly, you've got to commend them for that.
Without changing their values, yeah, their values is this. Also, they definitely changed their values. They definitely were not as woke, I guess, quote unquote woke now. Your Mickey Mouse better not be yapping or it's not public domain. That's what? That's Steamboat William to you, sir. The mouse itself was an anti-Semitic caricature. The name itself originally was Mortimer. Mortimer. Oh, man. What is this? This is some great hog content.
What is that?
I mean, I do recognize that I'm at Fox TV. I have a sense of loss.
Jesse Waters got a tarot card reader to look at Trump's future. Love that. They're running out of content, dude. They desperately need Trump to come back, it seems. Or they're cooked. Or they're absolutely cooked. Lamont Netanyahu wants Durst to represent Israel at the ICJ. Yes, I know. Kim Kardashian criticized for extravagant white wonderland at LA mansion. Okay, let's watch Steamboat William. I want to see what the fuck this is about, honestly. I've never seen it. I've never watched Steamboat William. Let's see if it's mid or not, you know? Someone just says she boat on my willy until I steam, and maybe Disney should sue you for that. Oh. Nice. Should bring this story into your no pixel reporting of the day. I'm sure it'll be a huge loss for Los Santos. I work in livestock transit, and I'm also a humanoid mouse with a hot humanoid mouse girlfriend. That part is the important part. The fact that, like, Minnie Mouse is a woman. A hot woman. Bro, this is kind of crazy. Honestly, like, what were people watching? My worst day in livestock transit was when I had to bring a fox, a chicken, a bag of chicken feed over one small river, and the ferry could only fit myself in one item. Hated that job. Almost died on the way home as well because there were people tied to the trolley track. Good one. There's a way to do it, though. You got to go, like, back and forth. There's a copyright is up. There's a FPS. Mouse, official early gameplay. What the hell? There's the 88 one too, by the way. This was announced months and months ago. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they knew that it was happening, so that's why they did it. It's crazy because, like, what is this? Not this video game, but, like, what is this content? Like, that's what you watch when you were a kid back then. It's so odd. Yeah, the 88 one is like Nazis, right? Bro, this is some, like, Newgrounds ass video game, by the way. Like, I don't know what is so fascinating or revolutionary, unique about this beyond the fact that it's a gimmick, right?